Today is Monday, January the 4th, 2010. My name is Lisa Lashbrook, daughter of Martha and Jack Warner. I will be interviewing my mother, Martha Jean Warner, for Friends of Marshall Public Library Oral History Project. Martha Jean Scott Warner. When were you born?
I was born April the 20th, 1928.
Where were you born?
North 3rd Street, Marshall, Illinois.
And your parents are?
William Earl Scott and Rebecca Long Scott. My father, William Earl Scott. Grandparents, Alexander and Callan, first wife, and Ellen Robinson, second wife. Great-grandparents were Jacob and Hetty Brown Scott, donated land for the Ohio Cemetery in 1870. My great-great-grandparents was William and Hannah Hagerman Scott. William Earl Scott, my father's siblings, was Lula Scott, sister, Otto Scott, brother, Myrtle Scott, sister, Walter Scott, brother. Mother is Rebecca Long Scott. Grandparents is J.N. and Nancy Ellen Mischler Long. Rebecca Long Scott. My mother's siblings was Effie Long Wilkerson, Mabel Long Snelly, Alice Adele Long Marker, Gifford Long, Laura Long Waldrop, Edith Long Brewer, Phil Long, Jesse Long Espis, Truman Long. My brothers and sisters was William Reen Scott, 7/29/22, Army Military Discharge, 9/1/45. Margaret Scott Thompson, born 7/2/24. John Alexander Scott, born 5/4/26. Army Military Discharge, 8/12/46. Jacob Dean Scott, born 5/31/30. Navy Military Discharge, 1/22/52. Alice Marie Scott O'Neill, born 5/28/32. Rita Mae Scott Arney, born 8/25/33. Mary Jane Scott Walker, born 8/15/35. Truman Lee Scott, born 9/1/37. Navy Military Discharge, 1/3/63. Billy Ray Scott, born 5/12/41.
Where specifically did you live, and how many years have you lived in your community?
I was born on North 3rd Street. We lived around the Freedom Church community, Mill Creek community, South Allright community, Mount Pleasant Church community, Poplar Street, South 2nd Street, South 6th Street, and North 6th Street, Marshall. I have lived in Clark County for 81 years.
What was your neighborhood like? How has it changed? And tell about your neighbors.
Neighbors were very helpful. They helped with baling hay, butchering animals, making lard, helped with the doctors and expecting parents, and walked to school with the neighbors. The mail was delivered by horseback, and then the Model Ts were invented.
What kind of chores were you asked or required to do, and how were your meals prepared? What foods did your family enjoy?
Chores were always included: milking the cows, feeding the hogs, washing the dishes, laundry on the washboard, hanging clothes on a clothesline, wore homemade clothes, gathering sticks and cobs for the fire, churned the butter and gathered the eggs, rode the horses, and went barefooted all summer. Meals were prepared on a wood and a gas stove. Foods enjoyed was cured ham and bacon, butchered our own meat, had fresh brains and sausage and so forth, planted gardens with lots of vegetables, canning and so forth, and fresh milk.
Where did you go to school? What memories of your education would you like to share?
My first grade was at Brosman School in 1934, and then went to Jackson School, Prairie School, Marshall South School, Union School, and Possum Ridge School, number 1 school, and high schools from the 9th to the 12th grade in the laboratory school in 1947. I enjoyed school very much. I walked to school, and sometimes students would lock the teachers out of a one-room schoolhouse for grades 1 through 8.
What was dating like, and what were your favorite pastimes and leisure activities?
I didn't kiss much, but I got my first kiss at the age of 13. We were skating on a pond. Started dating around 15 years old. My favorite pastime was reading, playing games, school activities, going to the movies, to church, and play with cousins and doing the chores.
When and where were you married?
I was married on June the 22nd, 1947 to Jack O. Warner at my sister Margaret Thompson house by the EUB Church, Marshall, Illinois. Together we had 5 children. Earl Clyde Warner, born 6/5/48. Donald Wayne Warner, born 2/1950. Daniel Zane Warner, born 2/1950. Elisa Ann Warner Ashbrook, born 3/1855. Ronald Keith Warner, born 1/23/57. Jack entered the Army October the 9th, 1940, and was discharged on August 13th, 1945. He was also in the Navy Reserve for 5 years. Then shortly after that is when he began his married life.
What job or career did you have? And please describe your experiences.
At 11 years old, I started working for Lula Thompson for 50 cents a week, was a cook, housekeeper, laundry, and so forth. I would walk to town to catch a bus. Most of my career has been working with elderly people. During high school, I worked at a bakery and for St. Arbuckle. After I was married, I worked at Burnside Nursing Home, but the majority of my time was spent raising 5 children.
What historical events stand out in your mind? These could be local, national, or worldwide.
World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, the Holocaust in Europe was worldwide, and it was horrible. Drive-in movies were you would sit on the ground to watch the movies. Fairs were every summer.
What modern conveniences affected your life the most?
Electricity and gas appliances. I only had a radio as a child. TVs came later on. Model Ts, cars to gas cars.
Tell me what civic or community awards, services, and organizations you have belonged to.
I received the Marshall Pride Award in 2009, Friends of the Library, Coffee Chat at the Library, First Christian Church, Cooking for the Connection, the Joshua Men, I cooked breakfast monthly for 1 year, Funeral Dinner Coordinator at First Christian Church, Vacation Bible School Refreshment Coordinator, Butler Springs, Hillsboro, Ohio, volunteer cook, Camp Eliana, Washington, Indiana, volunteer cook. Kindergarten volunteer for 6 years. Mentor program through the Marshall Area Youth Network, Maine. Helping Hands at First Christian Church.
This concludes the interview for Martha Jean Scott Warner on January 4th, 2010.